So, if you're paying attention as of late, we had a big nosedive in the stock market a few days ago after the Fed made their announcement. If you're like me and you follow the stock shows, if you watch some of the stock shows, they get a little tedious, to tell you the truth. Why? Because 50% of what they're doing is honestly just gaming out the Fed. Well, what do you think the Fed's going to do with interest rates? That's a huge chunk of what they talk about. I swear it's like half. I watched the Charles Payne show. Why I like him is he actually deals with crypto a little bit. Michael Saylor makes regular appearances on the show. There's a couple other people who show up, and he's sympathetic to crypto, so I like that show. And I like his personality. But the general consensus about interest rates is that the Fed, this is the consensus. I'm not giving you my information. I'm just telling you what it seems like people have agreed upon, is that the Fed is going to be aggressively fight inflation more than they thought for at least the next few months. A lot of people are predicting that the Fed would ease up. Now it looks like they're going to fight inflation pretty aggressively. So interest rates are going to be rising into December, January, into the foreseeable future. Now, that is not necessarily good for the macro picture for crypto. But here's the thing, okay? It isn't any sort of correlation that is organic between crypto and the stock market. There's a correlation there that has been pretty ongoing. If the stock market goes down, crypto goes down. But that doesn't have to be the case. That's more a psychological correlation than anything else. As I said, people have been treating crypto like a risk-off asset, like a meme stock, which is the first thing you jettison when the market turns against you. Then like its own asset class with its own internal logic. It's its own asset class with its own internal logic. So where am I going with this? If you have money sitting on the sidelines, and if you think crypto is promising at all, now is possibly the best time to invest in crypto. That doesn't mean I think that crypto will necessarily we'll have a bullish market in crypto anytime soon. We might. It's hard to predict. Crypto could literally start, we could have hit a bottom and crypto will start shooting up again in 2 weeks from now. Could be 3 months from now. Could be a year from now. We could be in this sort of semi-bear market, sort of neutral trend for a long time. I'm talking about for the long term. This is the best possible time to put your money to use for long-term investment in cryptocurrency. I don't think you're going to get any better opportunities than what we see right now. At some point, okay, what I am banking on, take it with a grain of salt, it could be wrong, but what I'm banking on is that cryptocurrency is going to become its own asset class, and 10 trillion is a very low ball estimate. That would mean 10 times the market cap of what we have now. But I think it's going to be more like 50 to 100 trillion total market value, which would be astronomical, which means the coins you see in front of you could not only 10x, but easily 50x. That's how I see it going down. Now, I don't necessarily think that will happen in the next few months or the next year. We could be in a crypto bear market or a crypto neutral cycle for the foreseeable future because, like I've said, they've been bizarrely correlating to how the stock market acts. And it looks like the Fed is going to be aggressive with interest rates for the foreseeable future because they're going to try to aggressively fight inflation, which means short-term crypto might do nothing. But why it's hard to predict? I don't know if you saw what happened with, Polygon. I own a decent bag of Polygon, and all of a sudden I turn around and Polygon shot up 30% in one day. I'm like, well, what is going on here? There are probably reasons. My guess is Polygon inked some sort of deal with Facebook and Instagram. I didn't look at the mechanics of it, but I think they're going to be selling NFTs I think that's why Polygon was going through the roof. I'm not sure. But regardless, the macro trend in crypto, as far as I'm concerned, is set in stone. There's going to be more and more adoption. Today, crypto is used and purchased by very few people. Tomorrow will be a lot, and the day after that, it'll be almost everybody. It's going to go the same route as the internet, as the cell phone, as the smartphone, as email. Once upon a time, all of these industries were fledgling, and then they took over the world and they revolutionized everything. I see the same thing happening with crypto, which means this is the best time to get involved. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist. If you've heard of the cryptocurrency, there's a good chance that cryptocurrency that you've heard of, the marquee names, almost everybody knows what they are. You don't have to be any type of really, Rhodes scholar to take a pretty good guess at which cryptos are going to do well. Most of the time, there are exceptions. You got your meme coins with which a lot of people refer to as the shit coins. Okay, but for the most part, if you've heard of it, Polygon, Solana, Algorand, Cardano, there's a reason you've heard of it, because there's real technology at work, and they have real money, real names behind them, backing them financially, and they're solving some sort of problem. Now, you could make a bearish case for almost all of them, Solana in particular, Cardano in particular, but it doesn't really matter. I think overall the trend is set in stone. Crypto is here to stay. 5 years from now, the market that you see in crypto will be probably 20 times what it's worth now, which means the marquee names are going to do really, really, really well. And I don't think you can go wrong. And if you're patient, I don't think they're necessarily going to do well in the near term, but this is a good time to lay down some really long-term commitments to some of these projects. Now, you can pick and choose amongst them. I kind of just, I kind of own positions in them all because I think they're all good. They can all be potentially good. And keep in mind with crypto, one of the things that's in the back of my mind that hasn't happened yet, okay? And I know this day is coming. I can tell. Once upon a time, there was a dot-com boom. A lot of you probably don't remember. You probably weren't trading back then, but I was. And the dot-com boom, if you were actively purchasing stocks at the time, all anybody talks about in hindsight is the dot-com bust. But for about a year and a half, 2 years, the dot-com boom was really fun. Really fun. And there was, something had a .com next to its name. You'd see it for $2 a share, $1 a share. You'd buy it, it'd go up to $50. The key is you have to sell it when it went up to $50. It's not going up to $200. You have to sell it, which is hard to do, but you have to pull the trigger and take the profit. But it would happen really easily. Now, the problem, and the logic of it was the same as the logic in crypto. What was making people really excited? The famous phrase from Alan Greenspan was irrational exuberance. There was a lot of irrational exuberance. It wasn't all that irrational. This was a new industry, technology, internet, and these were new companies that were doing new and creative things. And yes, some of these companies, the problem for the investor, okay, is a lot of these companies weren't making any money. And you always have in the stock market something known as relative valuation. What does that mean? It means if you pay $100 for a share of something, you are only buying the share of a company. That company doesn't make any money yet. That $100 investment is not going to be a smart investment. It has to be the next Amazon, or there's a really good chance your $100 is going to go down to $3. But if you buy it at $3 and it goes up to $100, the equation is very different. Now, the difference in crypto is there's no such thing as relative valuation. So you take something like Polygon. Now, this hasn't happened yet, as I say, but I honestly foresee this happening at some point because human nature is what it is. And when things start shooting up in value, people get excited and they give it momentum. And sometimes stocks take on a life. This has happened to me a lot in the stock market. The last time it happened was, what was the camera, the underwater camera? GoPro. Is that it? Yeah, I think so. GoPro came out on the market. I think I bought it at $30 a share, shot up to 90. Now, there was no legitimate reason why it should have been trading at $90 a share. I sold it at something like 89. Why did it do that? Because momentum builds on itself. People get excited about something and they start praising it to high heaven. And everyone goes, this is the next big thing, even if it's not. GoPro's a cool company. It's a decent camera. There's logic to it. People thought it was some people were arguing it's just a camera company and other people thought it was a media company because they put up videos and stuff like that. But the point is, with crypto, let's say they start bidding up Polygon. It shot up to $1.20. Went from something like 85 cents to $1.20 in the last week. Now let's say it keeps going and next week it's trading at something like $1.50, $2. Then people are going to get excited. And when they get excited, sometimes they bid these things up to ludicrous proportions. But in actual investing, when you're talking about stocks, there's always somebody there to remind you that something is being bid up to ludicrous proportions. Why? Because there's always relative valuation. You bid up a .com company to $100 a share when they aren't turning a profit. Obviously, that's going to become a ludicrous investment. The same does not hold for crypto. And that's what we haven't seen yet. you bid up Polygon to $5 a coin, then there's no reason why someone can't go, it should be $10 a coin. Based on really nothing, sure, but they'll do it. And then you'll see it go up to 10, 15, 20. They will take on a life of their own. And if that happens in crypto, be there for the ride, right? Because there's nothing to slow it down necessarily. There'll be people, there'll be naysayers, but they'll have very little arguments to make. Why? There's no such thing as relative valuation. Or at least it hasn't been established yet what gives the value to the coins. The things I look at that I think are predictive of some value, adoption metrics, who's using the coin and to do what is the technology. Polygon solves a problem, a technological problem. I did a video about it. That's why it has potential value, because it solves a problem on, in Ethereum. And Solana solves a problem. The technology of some of these names you've heard of there's usually a reason. And then who's behind it? What's the money behind it? Who's backing it? And why? And it's not that hard to figure out who the marquee names are. You're going to be wrong about some, you're going to be right. Just like if you follow football. Okay, you're following football right now. If you're a fan of football, you could probably predict with 80% accuracy right now, maybe let's say 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, you could probably predict with 80% accuracy who's going to be in the playoffs, and you'd be correct. Same idea with crypto. The marquee names are already the marquee names. You know who they are. There's naysayers about some of them, and they could be correct. Like Solana has those snafus where it goes down temporarily. That could, make it potentially a bad investment for the long term. A couple more of those could take it out. That's always a possibility. So you always have to have that in the back of your mind. But that's why you invest in a bunch of them. Some of them are going to hit big, and you just want to be there for the ride. Luna, for example, Luna was a good investment prior to the day when it collapsed, when it went from $80 to zero. That can happen to a lot of stuff, but I don't foresee that happening. If you remember the actual trajectory of Luna, there was a time, and it was a year before, where Luna was $1. And you could have bought it at $1, and in a year had basically 80 times your money. That can only happen in crypto. And that can happen still, and it will happen in the future. And there will be a day when people are bidding up these coins to ludicrous heights based off of hype and hopium and momentum, because that happens in the regular stock market all the time. The difference is, if that happens in crypto, there aren't going to be very many sober voices to say, well, they don't make any money. There's no money to be made. If somebody says Polygon is worth $10, there's really no good reason why someone will come along. No, it isn't. Obviously there are caveats to what I'm saying, but I'm just painting a picture for you. So I would say, if you have money sitting on the sidelines, now is a really good time. I don't think crypto is going to be, soaring. It happened in last October and November. If you were here, somebody say meta stocks, and you go look at Sandbox, and it was like, 30 cents. You buy it and it shoots up to $2, $3. Something like that happened with Sandbox, happened with Mana, it happened with all those coins. So that type of environment will come again. That day will come again in crypto, where someone will say, this is the next big thing, and you jump on it early, and you're going to see, 20-time return on your investment. That day's coming again. We may be in the doldrums for, I would predict a few months to a year from now before things start moving again. But, who knows? The Republicans are probably going to take the House. And if they, inflation, whatever you've heard about inflation, it's not correct. It was direct responsibility of this administration. First thing Joe Biden did was go to war against fossil fuels. Keystone Pipeline, canceled the Keystone Pipeline, did a couple other things. All of a sudden, the price of energy is going up. That's inflationary, because it costs more to bring goods to market. Then the next thing they did, and this was a deliberate choice, we were coming out of the pandemic, the economy was starting to heat up again, and they did another round of stimulus. Called it emergency spending, sent everybody $2,000. Okay, that's really inflationary. Those two things right there is what caused inflation more than anything else. No matter what you've heard, those two things right there. And there's a pretty good chance with the Republicans, I know for a fact I'm almost positive they'll take the House and they could take the Senate, And there's a good chance that they may have do something about gas. There's no reason why we have to be paying this much for energy. We're sitting on top of one of the biggest oil fields in the world. Just this administration doesn't want to tap in and produce oil at home. You produce oil at home, the cost of gasoline goes down. Cost of gasoline goes down. That's inflation. That's deflationary. That's way more effective than demand destruction. Now, I'm not saying that the Republicans are necessarily going to do that or even going to be able to do it, but there's a chance that they could. So we'll see. If inflation goes down, there's not really any organic reason why we need to head into a recession and have all this trouble in our economy. And as I said, I think crypto is an untapped gold mine of vast resources. I think 50 trillion to 100 trillion is where crypto will ultimately end up, which means you are staring at the best investment we will ever see in our lifetime, if I am correct. In other words, crypto is the best investment we will ever see in our lifetime, bar none. Nothing will even be close. That's how I see it. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't see what makes me wrong at all. I really don't. I could be wrong. It's a revolutionary new technology and vast, whole new industries are cropping up about crypto. There's vast untapped markets, untapped ideas. There's a whole new thing, decentralized social media, where you actually make money using the social media. I did a video about BBS Marketplace. I'll do another one in the future. It's vast amounts of untapped resources in crypto. There's whole new ways that crypto is going to interact with our society. You're going to go to a movie at some point in the next 10 years, and you're going to go, I really like this director. And you're going to be able to invest directly in that director right then and there, buy an NFT with that director's name on it. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. It's just a question of when. That's something that people aren't even anticipating, how much this is going to revolutionize how we do business. So I say get in now, You don't have to be all that smart. Just go with the marquee names. You watch any of the decent videos like Cryptos R Us and you'll get enough or a couple of the other videos that are legit, and you'll get a decent enough understanding of what's out there. And nobody has that much better ideas about what's good than anybody else. Metrics. Is it being used by people? Are they getting value out of it? If the use case is growing, if there's a good use case for the project, and if it's growing, then it's probably going to be a valuable project. It's not that complicated. And if there are wealthy backers behind it, then it's going to be promoted, which means it will probably go up in value. And that, if you've heard of the coin, that's generally why. That's generally going to be the case. So there you have it, kids. Just a little overview of the entire industry and where we stand. This is, as I game it out, this is the best investment we will ever see in our lifetime, bar none. And it doesn't take you very much to start, $20 a week, $10 a week. You can start off. Honestly. So there you have it, kids. That is my 2 cents.